Welcome back. The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate a technical error that led to the mass failure of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination conducted by the Joint Admission Matriculation Board, Jamb. However, an early review was undertaken by Jamb and a significant technical error was discovered. The Jamb registrar, Professor Ishak Oloyede, who took responsibility, said the problem, which was caused by one of two technical service providers for the exercise, went undetected before the results were released. The House adopted the motion asking the federal government to establish CTB centers across the country's 774 local government areas in the country. Of course, I still have legal luminary right here, Bernard Oniga and Ibrahim Garba standing by. Barrister, quickly, Professor Ishak Oloyede took responsibility and majority were calling for his sack. Was this call justified initially when the issues were not yet investigated?
You know, it's quite troubling. It's really, really troubling, and it calls for a lot of concern. And I want to believe that the reputation of Jamb as a body is at stake. If you leave me, I mean, we always say insaner climbs, and I don't understand what that means because we are very sane people in Nigeria. And I know the professor is a very learned gentleman and he's sane. I think that for a thorough investigation to be able to be carried out, and if we must get to the roots of the issues with respect to the technical glitch and the truth, because we want to be sure that what the professor has said is the truth. Okay. He needs to step aside. Okay. It could be for a moment, but we would not have him be at the center of the investigation and still want to lead the same institution that is being investigated. I just have a honest advice for the professor. He needs to step aside. I've followed him over the years. I think he's a man of truth and integrity. That's what I have to say about him. Okay. He should step aside so that we have a thorough investigation. And I don't know, I think the Ministry of Education, you know, superintends over Jamb. I want to believe that the minister knows exactly what to do at this point in time. Let me draw your attention to Senator Baribe, who is the chairman of the Eastern Senators Forum, has come to say that it was an attack against the southeastern region. I don't know if you have read that piece of news.
Well, we're going to get there.
Exactly.
So do you believe that?
No, I do not want to believe that. Okay. I do not want to believe that. No,
you're not directed to respond. Do you believe that it was an attack on the southeast? Yes or no?
No, that is why we are calling for an audit of the process. Okay. And for that audit to be thorough, to be effective, and for us to get to the bottom of the issues, Professor Bello needs to step aside, even if it is for a moment.
All right. Ibrahim Garba, quickly now, glitches happen everywhere. There was a recorded glitch with a SAT examination in the United States sometime in March where students were ordered to resit the examination. Now, in the case of Jamb, it became an ethnicity fiasco where Southeasterners were said to have been targeted. I mean, how did we get here? And from the look of things, the amount of students that were affected also from Lagos were quite much. And much of the students that were affected were also some other parts of the country. So why was it so directed at, you know, a conversation about a particular ethnicity when it actually had to do with technical error and glitches that could come with all these technological, you know, reforms we have these days?
You see, Mark, I think for us to, you know, begin to tag, or rather begin to attack the personality of Professor Ishak Oloyede, I think we are not being fair to him as Nigerians. This man has done well over the years. And again, you know, applying ethnic sentiments along the line of this argument, I don't think is called for at this moment. These are technical glitches. And what we want to see is a proper investigation. Carrying out proper audit of what happened, how it happened, when it happened. Because as you know, we have technical deficiency in the telecom industry. So it's not possible for us to have gotten to that point where we can have, you know, 100%
seamless flow,
you know, in examination, seamless. So I think we need to sit down and look at it critically. What is the state of the telecom infrastructure in the southeast, in the south, and all these places? In the north, well, they did well. So we should begin to look into this matter rather than, you know, castigating or condemning the personality of Professor Ishak Oloyede. Remember, he has tendered apology. That shows he's a gentleman. He has owned up to, you know, the failures related to the process. The next thing is what? Carrying out a proper audit to ensure that these things never happen again. This is Jamb. How many students have the capacity to go through CBT to carry out, to conduct these examinations? So it's a burden on parents, the school, the institution, the Federal Ministry of Education to make sure that students are prepared before, rolling out complete infrastructure for the Jamb. This is my own take on this issue, Mark.
All right, Bernard, quickly, students were actually ordered to, resit the exams yesterday. And do you think the receipt, notice was too short? And do you feel that there should have been more investigation before the receipt happened? Because a number of people were complaining about the losses they already incurred from the last exams, had to go far distances to locate their centers. And almost immediately you're asking them to receipt after this kind of shock that quite a number of them received. So what was your stand when that particular notice came out that they had to receipt the exams almost immediately?
You see, there are psychological impact and implications of such issues. So what I expect or expected is that that's why I'm asking for the professor to step aside so that someone can make these decisions.
Right.
I think the first things first is we need to understand exactly what went wrong. You cannot, and it becomes a matter of right for the students to even want to agree to receive this examination. Let us see if those technical glitches would not be able to tell us exactly what the results were or were supposed to be in the first instance. Mm-hmm. And let us see if we cannot fix the glitches to be certain that if my score was 300, then it reflects at 300. Then we can now begin to determine if we want to fix a receipt examination or otherwise. I think it is too early in the day. Parents are still trying to, wrap their head around the issues.
They already did it yesterday.
You are very much aware. That's why the probe that the House of Rep is calling for is very important. All of these things can be reversed. It's unfair to parents. It's unfair to the students, and I personally have continued to question the credibility or the usefulness of Jamb at this point in time, because I don't think we need it anymore. But that is a conversation for another day. But in this instance, I insist that an investigation, that is what is called due process.
Absolutely.
You go through the process. It must be fair to all concerned. And like we say in law, you don't just do justice. It must be seen to be done. And I think it is totally unfair in this instance. We need to give them some time to be able to, take in process the information, I mean to say.
All right. Now let's move on to our final story for the night.